Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, people, and welcome to the National League. Rory's back with us after missing about 50 episodes, as people said before. Congratulations to Liverpool, champions winners of the Premier League 24-25, the best team in England, equaling Manchester United tally of 20 titles, of course, not Premier League, but top flight titles, of course. Arsenal will be second for the third year running. Arne Slot is winning in phase one, as people are claiming. We're going to discuss that. Is it phase one for Arne Slot? Manchester United, with a shameful behavior from Rasmus Højlund, celebrating a draw against a 10-man Bournemouth. That was absolutely, it tells me a lot about the mentality of the club. We'll talk about that as well. Inter in the mud. We're going to discuss why Inter is bad. Surprise, surprise. We're going to talk about Inter a little bit on the show. Our chances of winning the Champions League as well. And the league, we're going to be about to bottle a triple, from a triple to 0 titles at Inter. So we'll talk about Inzaghi out, as I stated yesterday, that I want him sacked. Chelsea, back-to-back winning, back-to-back games, absolutely giving them hope about making Champions League. And Maresca, Lavia is the glue, as some people said, of course. We might be joining Jamie Story, who's going to be here to represent Liverpool as well. But before we go, I want to say something. AMD, big up my man. I know you sent a super chat yesterday after my watch along has ended for Inter, so I apologize. I didn't put it on the screen, and I apologize for this. Sometimes the stream is late for you, about 20 to 30 seconds, but I ended the stream after you say, and then you sent the super chat. So apologies for this. I couldn't put it on the screen. Big up everybody that is here. Hit that like button early. We're just starting. 150 people are here with us. We haven't even said anything. We got Staffy, we got Dan, we got RORY is back. OGs of the National League, of course. Where do we start?
Start with Liverpool. Oh no, Jamie's coming later. Maybe wait for that for him. But just say.
Can I start with something? Well, I wanted to discuss something that I discussed on Al Ahwa. For the first time, we had a rational conversation about the mentality of a football club at Manchester United. Having a player, and I'm just going to say a statement, having a player in your team when you're struggling and you're 14th in the league, tweeting that I needed this when you drew 1-1 against a Bournemouth team with 10 men. I don't know when was the guy sent off. It just shows me where the club is at. When a player is allowed to tweet something like this, when I interpreted this, I'm like, you really don't care about the club. You're like, you don't know, like, read the room, my man. Like, read the room. It's exactly like Spurs fans yesterday showing a flag with Arteta crying when they got smashed 5-1 and they are 16th in the league. It shows the mentality of a football club. Forget the fan, though. The player, to be honest, I think it shows the mentality of this football club. Where is Man United and how the players think about themselves instead of reading the room. And that's all I can read in the situation, to be honest with you. I thought that is maybe my bad take on Man United when I was asked when Amorim took over that I thought that Amorim would change the mentality of these players. And I had a big discussion with Staffy about this on the football terrace about one of the things that a manager should do is not only get the best out of the players, but change the way they think, which is brilliantly Mikel Arteta did at Arsenal, which is every game that Arsenal go to, they believe they can win. They believe they are the favorites, especially at home. While Man United, they couldn't change that at the current moment. Still players feel inferior. Is it down to quality? It might be. Is it down to quality? It might be. But in the same time, I believe, and I've said this, and I saw this at my club, what Mikel Arteta did at Arsenal, what Conte did at Inter, what Conte did at Chelsea when he joined, is that make you believe that you're a superior player. Regardless of your quality, you are a superior player, that you perform better. Pep Guardiola does this for most of his teams. He makes them give 120%. Your ability might be 7, but you show on the pitch that you are a 9 or an 8 player because of how you touch a ball, you believe in your first touch, you improve. Because I believe mentality in football is a big factor. You being superior in Egypt, I stated that many times. The people that are Egyptians or from Arab world, Staffy would know this. I support a club called Al Ahly. It's the biggest club in Africa, won the most Champions Leagues. They used to say, once you step on the pitch against Al Ahly, you're 1-0 down. That was a say, not from me. That is how big the shirt. They used to say the red shirt of Al Ahly means 1-0. You're already losing, right? You're already losing 1-0. That is a mentality of a football club. That is a mentality of how the players think about themselves. And I think Man United are lacking this now. And that is interpretation. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can respond, I don't think you're wrong for saying that. I think you're wrong for expecting that change to happen within one person. So you didn't even have to give Al Ahly as an example. You could have just went back to United 15 years ago. Like, people used to feel like they're down 1-0 when they face us. They always talk about seeing Rooney, Berba, and them guys in just the tunnel. They know they lost the game before it started. When you gave the Arteta example, I think Arteta did do that mentality shift, and that's a very good example of you. I think, but what it took Arteta to get there is to chop off a lot of people along the way. And I think there's not much a manager can do about a striker who, listen, it wasn't just him, by the way. He scored a goal, and his exact quote, for the people who don't know, he said, he put a picture of him celebrating the goal, and he was like, "We wanted this, but I needed this." And it just shows the pure lack of mentality, the pure lack of awareness going on, because like, you scored a goal and I know you needed that for your confidence. You didn't need to tell us that. We still didn't win the game. We're winless in our last 5 league games. It doesn't make much people feel better. Like, maybe it's just good for you. Everyone else just doesn't feel shit. It was a last minute deflection anyways. And then you got Garnacho posting a story saying Thursday. What about today? Where was that today? Because those two, as I told you earlier today, Mo, those two are combining for 9 Premier League goals this season. Rasmus has 4 Premier League goals this season. 4. He's average. Guys, if you guys don't know, he has 25 shots attempted in the league this year. 25. That just shows you it's a lot more than just mentality. He can't find himself in 20-something Premier League games that he started in. He's averaging about a shot a game. That's unacceptable. And there's only much a manager could do with this. There's so many things to criticize this manager for, and I'm open here for it. I just feel like this is not one of those. At some point, sometimes you got to realize there's only much a manager can do. And sometimes the easier solution is just to replace bad quality with better quality. That's what Arteta did. He went for the head of the snake. It's not like Aubameyang didn't have quality. Aubameyang was probably their best player when they got rid of him. But he probably had the worst mentality, arriving late. It was more about dancing and having fun than being serious. And they got rid of him because they wanted to build a serious squad. And maybe that, I don't know why, but maybe that's one of the reasons why he wanted to give Odegaard the captaincy, because maybe he thought at the time he had the best mentality. He was the most driven. He's probably going to affect the rest by maybe not necessarily being the most vocal person, but he was the person in that team that was doing the job game in, game out. Until United start doing little things like that, we're not going to have a complete mentality shift. Because I used to see that when Pogba was here. People used to think that Pogba dancing and shit was a shift of mentality. I've never seen people ruin the mentality of a locker room more than these corny boys that we have in the locker room. And so, funny enough, I was saying it on the watch along yesterday before they even scored. I said, I think that this is karma. This is punishment. God is punishing us for whatever sins we committed in our life by giving us Højlund and Garnacho. Because for the lack of talent that they have, they're usually the loudest and they're usually the corniest. Like, I would swap them with two other players with any team in the league. If you send me to 19 Premier League teams and you say, would you swap Garnacho and Hojlund with any two players on those teams? I'm sure I'll find at least two players in every team that I would take, that I would swap them for. These guys, as long as they're leading our line with these stats, this quality and this mentality, we can't really go forward. And it's not really on the manager as much as you think. That's what.
Does anybody here think that, like the Dan and Rory, you guys think that Amorim should do better with the squad?
Yes, I think you have to. I think there is a lot of dead wood that needs to be moved, but I feel like we say that every year when it comes to United, and then we still watch them spend a lot of money, and that doesn't really change. That's not on Amorim, because that's been happening since Fergie. But I do feel like there comes a point where you just have to get results. And again, if you want to compare it to Arteta, like, that was what he did. He won the FA Cup. We started beating bigger teams. The first thing he did was start getting results and finding a way against his own philosophy of getting those results. Like, we were playing a back five with Aubameyang by himself up top and playing really quite a horrid style of football, because he knew that with the players he had at his disposal, that was the only way he could get results. And to get people to buy in, to get the fans to buy in, and to get the players to buy in, you need the results. Because otherwise, everyone's looking at Amorim going, well, does this guy know what he's doing? And we're promised this 3-4-3 that's going to work, but when? And how long do you give it? And can you convince the fan base to give Amorim 200, 300 million quid to build his 3-4-3 if they don't have faith that it will actually work? And that's the problem I think he's got right now.
I'm not sure if it, like, what do you think, Dan? Like, actually, Dan, do you think that he can get something better from these players, watching them?
Yeah, I think he could have. I think you got to remember that this team have definitely won stuff. Most of the players there, I think they've shown that they can be at a slightly better level than where they are. I mean, this is Manchester United's worst ever season, and it's arguable that Amorim's done a worse job in terms of getting Premier League points than Ten Hag did. I'm surprised by Amorim, to be completely honest with you. I think he could have done a better job. I think realistically, though, if he wins the Europa League, he's going to have the sort of excuse to say, I got the best out of my players, but it's because we were fully focused on winning the Europa League. And that's kind of where the excuse might lie. But I don't think enough is being said about where Manchester United are in the league.
I
mean,
to be honest with you. Look at Vitor Pereira at Wolves. He took over Wolves a month after Ruben Amorim, hasn't spent anything. A squad that was near bottom of the table. They were having a torrid season, and now he's won 6 games in a row, including beating United and beating Spurs. So there is a level where it's like,
it's a fair argument, to be honest.
I think they've got goal scorers though, Rory, haven't they? Which I don't know if Manchester United have to the extent. Strand Larsen's got 12, Cunha's got 15. They've had goal scorers all season, even with O'Neill in charge. They've definitely had that, and a lot of.
So you think that the problem then is a goal scorer at Man United?
I think that's been a huge issue for Manchester United this season.
Can I hop in here then? And I'm glad you brought it to here, because I do think if you're on, I know you probably, I would say you at least watched 90% of Manchester United games this season, so you've definitely had enough of the sample size. I think when when you really go back to remembering every game you watched, you'll see that there's certain games where United weren't amazing. But let's just be honest, there's a lot of games where if you had someone poach you a goal, you would have left at least with 3 points on the day. And I think there's too many of those games where we didn't leave with them, and eventually they added up. My example was always Scott McTominay. I think people don't understand how much Scott McTominay being sold this season has exposed us compared to last season. Because last season, I remember him vividly. I remember him saving Ten Hag in certain games where I used to get so angry because I'm like, this is your third year. You're playing shit football, yet McTominay pops up with last-minute goals. He had 8 league goals exactly. This season, I think he has 10 league goals in 9. Okay, so he's actually having the same exact form.
10. He scored.
He has
2.
11 in general. I just don't know how many are in the league. I'll probably go and check. But he's having around the same exact numbers in the league that he had for United last season. United I think it's easy to say that this Napoli team is better than United last season because we weren't that good of a team last season. He so many times saved us. I remember the Brentford game. I remember those headers alone that he would just come on and score every time. When you remove those points and you say he at least robbed them of like three games, our opposition. That's 9 points. Put 9 points on the board right now for Man United. It's still shit, but it's comparable to last season's shit instead of now. Because where would 9 points take us? 10th? 10th from 8th is about the same. The issue is 8th to 14th and 15th. That's looking like a much bigger gap. Yeah. And that just shows you that how 9-10 goals a season can actually make a huge shift for where you're sitting in the table. And we haven't
counter this with one thing. How many times, and people can attest, how many times we've watched Man United using Hojlund as a hold-up player when he can do it? Isn't that on the manager?
Nope.
Isn't that on the manager? How many times you played the long ball to Højlund and he fights a player trying to hold up the play? I've seen Man United build up from the wing backs and reach in the final third, but I've also watched Man United try to use Højlund not to his best ability. The guy can't hold up the ball.
Disagree. Chido comes on yesterday, 30 seconds into the game, he registered a shot. He registered a shot coming on in the 80-plus minute. I forgot what minute he came. I think he came on the 82nd minute. Let's just use that for argument's sake. He registered a shot earlier in the game, coming on in the 82nd minute than Højlund did. Actually, by the time Højlund got that goal, Chido Obi already had 2 goals on target. I remember because they got that red card, so they kind of sat back and they allowed us to attack him. That left-hand side was Luke Shaw, Dorgu, and Garnacho at times. The amount of times I saw them link up there and they play the ball into the box on the floor by, let's say, the edge of the 6-yard box or towards the penalty spot, and we had no attackers attacking that. Chido Obi comes on, and that was his first touch. He gets a shot. It was going on target, and a defender just sticks a leg out and clears it out to a corner. You can argue that the defender wasn't there. There you go. That's a goal. I don't even need it to be a goal to me already see that Chido Obi has done more in 30 seconds than Højlund did. Why is an 18-year-old coming on and already threatening their goal with his first touch when Højlund has been there for 82 minutes?
Because he's confident and naive, Staffy. It's a trait of a lot of young players getting called up to first teams. That's what it is.
Tariq George versus Jackson.
Yeah, I think of Wanyeri, like even Miles Lewis-Skelly. These players thrive because they don't realise what they've got to lose, and they've never been on the receiving end of bad. You know, for a youngster coming through, you're normally on the fans' side. Like the fans are on your side straight away. They're behind you probably more so than most of the team because they don't have any expectation of you, and everything you do is viewed as a positive pretty much. So I think that's probably why. I think there's probably a lot of weight on Højlund's shoulders, hence why he celebrated and acted in the way that he did. I think the biggest fact for me that I've seen with, you know, Manchester United, even Arsenal at times this season, last season, when they've had a striker sort of in and out or not exactly a striker, Chelsea as well. When you don't have a striker scoring goals and, you know, putting the chances away early on in the game, that's when you can see results slip away from you or games turn into draws because you don't kill off that opposition and change their mentality in a game. And for me, that's the biggest thing I think you see in the best sides. Strikers score the goals, take the chances they need to. Most of the time, that turns the game in their favour and gets you the points just because they're able to turn those chances into goals.
The
I
thing
just think
is,
the biggest thing then is that he's not even registering shots. When I told you guys he has 25 shots this season, to put that into context, stop laughing. Every time I say that, Mo, you just laugh.
Bro, it's a
Semenyo,
laughable step. To be honest with you,
it's
it's one of the worst
embarrassing.
stats I've seen for a striker
But
in the
then-
history of football.
yeah,
How is a striker, a starting striker that played that many games over the course of the season? Bro, we're not talking goals. If you tell me he has 25 goals, 25 shots is like, bro, Mikel Merino has more shots when he played as a striker for like 10 games, bro. This guy, like, you guys are like, I don't think I need people to go to the stats, to FBref, and see the average striker's shots per game. And by the way, what Staff is talking about, that is on target or off target. That
That's
is
just shot in
25
general.
shots. Just shot. Like
Like,
halfway
you
line.
shoot it from
shot.
halfway through and it's
Like-
going to count.
but then
People don't understand
yeah.
how bad this is. Like, go ahead, Rory.
But then you got rid of Rashford, who was someone that takes shots. And if you're talking about needing
we're
someone
talking.
to score, if you're talking about someone that needing to score goals, you get the best out of Marcus Rashford. He scores you goals. And okay, you can say, well, we couldn't get the best out of him. Again, if you want to make that comparison back to Arteta again, Arteta didn't get rid of Aubameyang straight away. He came in and probably knew Aubameyang's attitude wasn't good enough, but realized, okay, I'm going to have to stomach that and deal with it until the right time to get rid of him. And he made Aubameyang his best player for the first 18 months and won the FA Cup with him. So again, that's an example where you could look at it and go, well, maybe he should have just.
But that's on the club. I agree with you, because don't forget that not only I feel like we keep forgetting that not only was the manager said, hey, by the way, we're going to bring you mid-season. You're going to have to get or just milk the best out of this team until the summer, and then we'll start your rebuild. Oh, and by the way, while we're at it, yeah, you two, yeah, I'm taking those two on the way out. And then they just left with Rashford and Anthony and closed the door.
Do you mean
It's-
Rashford and Anthony? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, Rashford and Anthony. That's what I just said.
Okay,
Both
so
of-
you don't think that was on Amarim that those players left? You think that was solely the board?
I think
sort of
Rashford
saying, "Look,
was
they're
more on
bad
the
eggs
club."
or bad apples. Let's get rid of them.
so
Hadn't Amorim already basically discarded Rashford though at that point?
No, so it was the Everton game. That's the last game Rashford played for, and funny enough, he scored a brace in. I think that was the last
This
game.
is what I was going to say. I don't remember Rashford being that poor under Amarim that it was
wasn't.
so bad that he had to go. I actually thought we were going to see Rashford probably work quite well in this system. I was so shocked when that relationship broke down as quick as it did that I wondered whose choice it was that he'd leave.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was the last game he played. He scored a brace in against Everton, and then we had the Manchester derby. I can't remember if that was the exact game before or not, but then it was the Manchester derby. If you guys remember when the news broke out that him and Garnacho are not going to be in the game because of not working enough in training or whatever. I think Rashford was always more of a club thing, because at the end of the day, he came out and said that he wants a new challenge or whatever, and then they just discarded him from there. And then
Right.
it was January where we got Aston Villa's offer, and Aston Villa's offer was like they're paying 70% of his wages. And when you put everything that Sir Jim said in interviews, that the club was running out of money if they continued to do this way, and if they didn't do price cuts, they would have no cash by like November. They were always gonna go after the biggest spenders, if the biggest earners. Anthony's being one of them as well, because he was on 220K. And don't forget, Casemiro didn't get played for like about the first 2-3 months. And I think they were really hopeful that they're going to sell him in January. And when they didn't, eventually they managed to start using him a little bit. Now, the manager's never going to come out and say that, but you got to speculate and think where they going after the highest earners first to save up some money. That extra couple million that they're saving from all these wages, maybe they come into place into the transfer window in January where he's able to sign players. I don't know. I guess we'll never get confirmation, because these are things that happen behind closed doors, but you can only speculate. At the end of the day, it doesn't take away the fact that a bad Rashford is better than no Rashford. A bad Anthony is better than no Anthony. We've reached points where we were playing that games and we need to go and we're putting Maguire as a striker. Like, that just shows you how shortage of options we have up front. It's not like we can even play Cheeto Obin in Europa, because he wasn't even registered for it. So that's how bad the management has
But
been this
can he
year.
not just play as a kid? Do you have to register the kid to play?
Yeah, he has to be registered.
You
He's
do?
not registered. Like, you can register him as an academy player, but he's not even registered.
And
Which
that was
shows
a
you me
choice,
how
right?
incompetent they are as well. Say that again.
That was a choice not to register him. It wasn't like he couldn't
Yeah.
be registered, right?
Yeah, they
chose
could have
not
rushed
to.
it in January, and they didn't. I don't know. I guess they just didn't think they'll have to dig deep to the point that they're gonna
Yeah.
reach out for their under 21 academy player. But here we are, man.
But I just checked, by the way. Mikel Merino has more shots. Jacob Murphy has more shots. Darwin Núñez has more shots than him. Kai Havertz, who has been injured, I forgot that Kai Havertz plays football. He has more shots than him.
But I think instinctively, Mo, they all look like players that look like more like a number 9 on the pitch and understand
Jacob
that role.
Murphy.
Well, I'm more of an attacking player that understands what he should be doing. I look at Højlund and I kind of look at someone who I don't think fully understands the role that he's being asked to do. And I just don't think he is like, most strikers have that natural instinct of trying to work shots, trying to get a goal. Like Staffy was saying about the young lad that come on, his first instinct was to take a shot, right? I look at like Tyreek George in that game the other week. His first instinct was to take a shot. I don't ever look at Højlund and think his first instinct is going to try and score a goal. I just never see that.
Well, I think Man United will get rid of Højlund. I think they're going to get a new striker. I can't wait for the summer for Man United to see what they're going to do. Is it going to be Delap? Is it going to be Osimhen with Cunha?
By the way, I keep seeing all these links, Cunha, Osimhen, all this money that United are going to spend. Oh, suddenly you found all the money that you were running out of. We've got to take money from charities that we used to contribute to because we've got no money. But we can dig out 60 million for Cunha though. Where's that? How's that suddenly changed?
Well, I presume, Rory, that it's Ratcliffe coming in and having a completely different way of operating to what the older people did, and I just think he was absolutely waffling. No, well, he was, because he's got to protect the PR. But this is a guy that's a billionaire and is absolutely ruthless, and probably thought, right, well, we're not going to spend money there, and we're not going to spend money there, and we're going to save money here because why on earth are we doing that in the first place? We'll put out this sob story. We'll get government funding in regards to the stadium, and get it mixed in with the Labour's regeneration of the Old Trafford area. This is a really smart guy who's never going to come out and say, "Oh, Manchester United are minted," because then all of a sudden they've got to start paying money. They probably were never that.
Because if he said that, he wouldn't be able to get rid of the people that he wanted to get rid of at the club. So I get what Dan is saying.
I'll take the 300
and
grand.
the staff, he wanted to cut the staff. He got rid of Ale. Like he got rid of Ferguson. He got rid of
he smart, right? I was listening to him talking about a petrochemical lab that he bought. He got it so cheap off of BP, so cheap. Borrowed so much money to get it as well. Barely put anything up front, and they got it, and it's completely changed Ineos's trajectory as a company, right? He is so smart. There's a reason he is at the level in his, his life and his career, and the fact that he's got the money there to go and put money into a club as big as Manchester United. He knows what he's doing. He absolutely knows what he's doing. There is no way Manchester United are in the position that is as drastic as scrapping lunches. He said quite clearly in that interview, none of my companies have incentivized lunches, so why should Manchester United? He said it so clearly. The players earn enough money, by the way, to buy their own lunch.
Yeah.
I mean,
let me do this. It's not even the first team. The first team gets free lunch.
There you go then.
The ones who can afford it still get it.
So Cheetah Obi is going to stay skinny until he makes the first team.
Samasi here is saying Inter go trophyless, losing to Conte and Maxos.
Can you respect Maxos there?
Conte's class, bro.
By the way, can I just state something quickly, because I can see some comments coming in. I think he's incredibly smart when it comes to numbers and businesses and that side of thing. In regards to football, I think you could have a completely different conversation towards his awareness of the game. Because I think Gary Neville called him out for some things, and he went, "That's such a good idea. I didn't think of that."
Yeah. Guys, listen to NH. Just tuning in. Hit that like button, people. Come on, guys. We need at least 200 likes. And if you're new here, subscribe. We've got 400 people in the house. Let's get to 200 likes. The like button helps the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. Hit the like button. Moving on from United to Chelsea. It's a very good call. You won back-to-back games. It's in your hands now. It's in your hands now. You go to do you play Newcastle? Do you play Liverpool the next game?
Is it in our hands? Yeah, because we play Forest. Is that why?
It is.
Yeah.
You play Forest and you play Newcastle. So basically, they're direct competitors. You win these two games, you're going to make Champions League football. Do you believe you can win these games?
No. I just think they're going to be too tough. I keep thinking, like, are Liverpool going to be on holiday and Newcastle going to be safe? No, sorry, we're not playing Newcastle. Nottingham Forest going to be okay by the time we get to them. I just don't know. But what I will say is I think we've seen Chelsea maybe pick up a little bit of momentum, but I think they're different tests, to be honest with you. I just think Everton and like Ipswich.
You play Newcastle away,
Fulham
May 11th.
Yeah, we do
You
play
actually
Newcastle,
play-
right?
You play
And we play
Newcastle away.
Manchester United
You
as
play
well.
Man
So we've
United
got-
at home.
And
The
Liverpool.
last 3 games is
Liverpool.
going to be in your hands.
Like Liverpool
If-
could be on holiday, couldn't they? Liverpool could be on holiday. It sort of reminds me of maybe Manchester United in that cup final against City at the end of last season. Like potentially,
No one's on the beach for a cup final.
yeah.
problem
Like you just don't know.
Yeah, but
They were just drunk.
the flip side of that is that now there's no pressure on Liverpool at all. Their players are just relaxed.
But do you think they play the
Salah's-
kids?
No, Salah still wants his records. I don't think Slot plays the kids at all. Even yesterday, like he could have at 5-1, he could have bought on Chiesa so that Chiesa would be guaranteed Premier League
Yeah,
medal
still.
for 5 apparently. They still didn't. Like
He'll play though, won't he? Now till the end of the season. Do you not think?
Harvey Elliott
Well,
might play.
Chiesa,
I'm telling you,
maybe, yeah.
Endo might play. Bro, I'm telling you, Endo
I-
might play.
I-
Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones might play.
I don't think
Gomez,
they
if
will.
he's fit, will play. I know Tsimikas will play. Maybe Conor Bradley will play now. Maybe the last game, maybe Trent will play. Definitely, Liverpool are not going to play the kids, but they can play the second team for sure. Like
I don't
Darwin
know if they
Nunes will
will.
start
Why though? They've got nothing else to play for. There's no
because none of these players are only
But I
Salah
think
is looking for records.
they're all winners. Salah's looking for records, but I think Arne Slot will still be looking at the points tally going, well, we could hit 90 plus points. That would be one
Yeah,
of the
that's-
best winning title points.
They need 2 games to hit 90 points. That's it.
Yeah,
No,
but
they need 3.
they
They're
need
on
They're
82.
three. They're only on 82, I think.
Yeah.
I
So they-
just think we underestimate the competitive nature of elite footballers to the point where they will not want to go out and roll over against Chelsea.
I've seen in years gone by teams sort of take their foot off the gas because I remember Chelsea did it when they they tied it up early. I don't think we've seen a season be tied up this early in a while, have we? So I'm not sure. Whatever happens,
I also think
on.
finally there's a bit of a if you can stop Chelsea getting into the Champions League, given how much they've spent, I feel like Chelsea's a club that they'll be up for just because it's Chelsea.
It's normally a draw, by the way. I think this fixture or Liverpool. Like,
Can I tell you
Chelsea's
guys something?
favourable for Chelsea. Come on.
Chelsea playing at home against a team that already won the league. I think they must win.
No,
I think there should
Liverpool
be
would love to come. Liverpool, like Rory's saying,
Spoil the
it still
party.
means something for Liverpool to just go and win that game. You know, go and get the points, beat Chelsea, stop Chelsea in their tracks. Whatever happens for Chelsea, it's going to be incredibly difficult to pick up enough points to get Champions League football. That no game will be easy, and if they achieve it, I actually think it will be the best thing Maresca's done all season if he manages to get Chelsea into the Champions League. Because I think this run is so incredibly difficult when you look at it compared to other teams and the amount of teams that are going for those places. If Maresca and Chelsea manage to do it, then I think it's a really big achievement.
I think you
actually,
need 2
on
wins
Maresca.
from the last 4 games, right? 2 wins from the last 2 games.
What we on
66
Three.
points.
3, so we probably need, what would that be, 69?
No, but
So-
these 2 wins, if they come against Newcastle and Forest, I believe that Chelsea can beat Forest away from home, by the way. I believe so. Forest are still 6, but they have a game in hand.
Wow.
If Chelsea beat
The
Forest,
last place, if the last place on earth I would want to go away to
yeah,
would be Forest on the final day, needing a result to get Champions League football. Forest
Because that
record
stadium-
at home is
yeah.
unbelievable.
that is
Against
that's
Eagles.
such a tough place to go.
And the
We beat them away
mentality of that
last season
Chelsea
at the
team
last
as
minute,
well.
but
Yeah.
Forest
look,
still play Crystal Palace away. They play Brentford. They play West Ham away. I know that these teams are not like, but Forest might not play these teams to their best. Like, what I want to say is that these teams don't play into Forest hands. They don't attack. They don't play that brand of football. So Forest is going to face a different team than the teams they play against, which is like they sit back. Like, we watch Forest in the big games. I think these games will be like Forest can lose to Crystal Palace away.
Chelsea
Just gonna
need to get something from Liverpool. If they could get a draw, I think they take it. They have to beat United. And then probably if you can draw against Newcastle and Forest, that might be enough just because you'd be taking points off them as well. But that's tough.
yeah, every point is going to be absolutely crucial for Chelsea, and I do genuinely think it's going to be very, very difficult. But you know, we've done the right thing against teams that we had to. I think dropping points against Ipswich was unacceptable. The fact that we fought back to get a point was good, but that's the sort of game and the form that we showed maybe even early on in the game against Fulham that worry me going against better teams. That if we play anything like that, I mean, it's going to be difficult. Even Everton, 1-0 win, but I mean, we gave him chances. Sanchez kept us in the game. Actually, he had a pretty good performance. So, yeah.
Do we want Chelsea to make Champions League football?
Up? Well, I do. Yeah, I think it's so incredibly not just as. I think it's so incredibly important for Chelsea as a club and as a model and as a business, whatever they see it as, to get Champions League football. I think they are right on the line now between like withholding big club status and not, and being able to act financially as a big club and not. Because I think to go one more season without Champions League football, without the revenue that can create, with the amount of money Chelsea have spent, I just think they're going to be putting themselves in a really difficult position, especially with trying.
I think it's going to affect your market. I think not having Champions League is going to affect your attraction. Like Man United going for Delap, Man United win Europa League. You don't make Champions League. Delap is going to choose United.
I think is incredibly huge. I think it is going from an extended blip and a lot of mistakes to, if it happens again for another season, it's like, this is where Chelsea are at right now. Chelsea are not going to be able to keep financially spending the money they're doing because they're running out of assets to sell, and the players that they've got will be devaluing because they're not playing at the highest level.
That's the thing.
I think
Which is why we need them to miss out then.
Yeah, it doesn't just affect who you can bring in. It affects what you can sell players for as well. If it's a reaffirmment that these are not Champions League level players, then it makes it difficult to sell them.
Definitely. And I think
the issue is, don't want City to get it, don't want Chelsea to get it, don't really want Newcastle
you
to
definitely
get it,
want City to get it, Rory. You definitely want City to get Champions League football. You definitely. You're not an Arsenal fan. It will affect the title race if Man City get Champions League or not. It will affect them. You want Man City. As an Arsenal fan, logically speaking, you would definitely want Man City to win. Chelsea are not title contenders for you next season.
But then, but then I don't want to have to compete against Man City for the Champions League next season. If you can take that out of the equation straight away, that's one of what would be a favourite.
People don't compete against each other that much in the Champions League as much as it like. If like you'll cross that bridge if you face them in the Champions League, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
but in the league, imagine if Pep Guardiola play Europa League with all due respect, Man United and Spurs, if they reach Europa League final, it tells you the level. Pep Guardiola can play a second team in Europa League and basically win it. He's gonna focus on the league. This is your bread and butter. You need to literally, you want City to play the first team, especially with 8 games in the Champions League. They need to rotate. I think you will need them to make Champions League. And for me personally, I want Chelsea to get Champions League football. I want to see them. To be honest with you, I want Chelsea. The reason why, I'm a neutral. I don't think Chelsea are a contender for the Champions League next season at all. With all due respect, I don't want to see Nottingham Forest play Real Madrid. I want to see Chelsea play Real Madrid.
I do.
With all due respect to Nottingham Forest and their fans, I want to see Chelsea play Real Madrid. I want to see Chelsea play PSG.
But Nottingham Forest have more of a European Cup sort of pedigree than like a lot of the teams that are going in.
Well, I wasn't alive. I never seen Nottingham Forest. I don't even know that there's a team called Nottingham Forest. Like when I started watching the Premier League, with all due respect, Nottingham Forest. I'm sorry, Dan.
The thing is,
I wasn't alive either. I think
I want. To be honest with you, the teams that I want to make the Champions League is Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Man City. These are the teams I want.
What I would say about Forest is like a lot of those managers and ex-players were like incredibly involved in the game. As when I was like just getting into football, they were like big names. Martin O'Neill, obviously, I think like Stuart Pearce, big players of that era of Nottingham Forest were involved in football. So I think they like sort of stayed really relevant until probably like 10 years of not a lot, and then sort of come back into it recently.
I want to tell you, the young English fan or the young Premier League fan that started watching in the late 2000s and the early 2010s have no idea that Leeds used to be in a European Cup semi-final back in the days. They have no idea that there's a rivalry between Leeds and Man United for for the Rio Ferdinand transfer. They don't
They're
know.
definitely not going to know about Leeds and Chelsea then, are they? Like, that's back in the 70s, I think. So
I didn't know about that. See, I didn't
oh
know
yeah,
about this.
massive rivalry, Chelsea
And
Leeds.
that's what I'm talking about. With all due
That,
respect,
honestly, by the way, that might be, if you watch that game on YouTube, like the highlights of that, that might be the dirtiest game of football I've ever seen. It's horrific. Like, it's really bad.
that's why I want Chelsea. To be honest with you, I also want a Caicedo, a Cole Palmer to play in the Champions League. I want to see them play. Rory, I'm being neutral. I know you're a Londoner. You don't like Chelsea, but that is different for me. Objectively, I want.
But even if it wasn't Chelsea, I want to see a team that spent 2 billion continue to fail to get into the Champions League just to see how badly it can go. I want to see how badly this experiment.
How worse can it get than selling your women's team and
so
hotels?
much worse.
So much worse.
So much worse.
But I think they could get to the point where it's just absolute ruin.
It can
And
get to.
I want to see
But
that.
I don't want Chelsea. You don't want Chelsea to be ruined. It's good
No,
for
do
the
you know
Premier
where-
League
do you know where it
brand
could get
to
to?
have
It could get
Chelsea
to-
good again.
Barcelona level of desperation without having the opportunity to sort of be in the top 2 every season and getting Champions League football and winning. So you're having to sell off ridiculous futuristic assets that don't currently exist just to get by and make huge gambles. I mean, Barcelona have absolutely gambled. If they end up winning the treble this season, it might all just pay off for them financially. But if it goes wrong for Chelsea, Chelsea aren't in the position that they're sort of guaranteed Champions League football and a title contention every season. So yeah, I think it can go horribly.
You know what the
wrong
difference
if
between
it
your
does.
team and Barcelona? Barcelona will always be big in Spain. There will always be top 2 teams.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
It's true.
Chelsea, if it goes tits up for Chelsea, it goes tits up like Man United. You're like shit. You're like 10. In the Premier League, it's ruthless. Your club is run bad. You keep going down, and you don't. and you don't feel it. You don't feel it until you're like Spurs level. You're 16
Yeah.
or you're 10.
We want to see this unfold.
No, we don't, Rory. We don't.
I
We don't.
don't.
I wish I could watch another team doing it. I hate the fact that it is happening at Chelsea, and it is. There's a potential.
But it's like morbid curiosity, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because
badly can
if
a
it
club
does happen,
capitulate?
Rory, it'll be the biggest mismanagement of a club at the size that it was ever.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that people
From
would
20
like to
years,
see.
the most successful club in England.
Yeah.
So like, okay, not getting the Champions League is the norm. It's okay. It's just something that
And
people don't lose sleep over.
Yeah, and there are clubs that can replace Chelsea in terms of just being a team that's like top 4, like Newcastle or Villa could do that.
Newcastle will replace
For this exact reason, this is why I view Chelsea getting Champions League football as so important. Like, so important that they have to get that to generate the funds to allow them to survive what they've already done. Otherwise, the owners have put Chelsea into such an incredibly difficult position to manage without huge Champions League level revenue coming into the club, in my opinion.
The problem, I swear to God, this is the thing I'm going to say, and people are not going to. Me and Staffy last season had an argument about Chelsea look better on the pitch than Manchester United. I'm watching Chelsea now. I don't think you look that good on the pitch. And that is what Chelsea fans don't understand. You don't look as good on the pitch. Like, you have position and everything. The Palmer situation is eating me up every day. How is one of the best players in the league is literally a passenger on the pitch. A passenger, to have some Chelsea fans suggesting that Cole Palmer should be benched because we need to look at him and his performances is a myth. Imagine if next season, I want people to imagine this. Arsenal, Liverpool fans, imagine if next season, your fans, some of the fans are saying that Salah should be benched or Saka should be benched. That is by itself is a disaster. It's a disaster, to be honest, for Chelsea, to have your best asset at the club. For us to be talking about Cole Palmer not being the best asset, people talking about Caicedo is better than him, Enzo is better than him now at the current moment, Lavia is better than him, is a disaster. It's a disaster for Chelsea, and this needs to be resolved, to be honest.
I think it's a blend of the two, Mo, right? Where, like, I think at first there was an issue tactically where Palmer was being asked to play, but he had so much momentum from last season. He was still achieving the numbers that were fantastic. You know, that Brighton performance, scoring 4. But then I think what we've seen is the goals sort of dried up, the assists sort of dried up, probably due to the tactical limitations being placed on him. and where he was sort of having to occupy it. Then I think the confidence started to drop. We then even saw actually last game, Maresca sort of allow Cole Palmer to go back to the position he probably looked better in. I think we saw Enzo sort of step up into the 10 when he sort of attacked. Cole Palmer had that sort of space on the right to link up with Neto. And then I think we saw just how much of a lack of confidence he's now playing with. So it's not just tactically that there was an issue. I think we saw such a decline in confidence that he's got to fight through that now as well. And we all know how incredibly difficult it can be for a player that's low on confidence.
It is a young player that doesn't have a lot under his belt.
I actually think, Mo, right, it's make or break for a young player if they can get through this type of confidence crisis or not. If they don't, it can take years and years and years for them to get back to the sort of level they were. If it sort of turns around, then I think we'll see, obviously, that they can get back. But, is this... I don't want to say it, and I do think the talent's there, and I think it's so obvious that he's a talented guy, but this is the sort of stuff we've seen with young players like Dele Alli and players like that have got to a very high level at a young age, and then, they fail to get back there because of confidence and tactical issues. So I think
for the people
to say
that
he was overrated is wrong, though. I think we all saw just how good he was, that we were just rating what we were seeing, right?
Yeah. I am really thinking...
Rory's going to leave.
What is Rory doing is something, I don't know. But I that's why I said that if Chelsea don't make Champions League, I'm not saying that Palmer is not going to get back to his best, but it might be a good idea for him if Chelsea don't make Champions League and they keep Maresca as well, is for him to go to a different environment, to be honest. Just for the I'm looking out for him, to be honest. Maybe go to a different... I'm not saying he's not going to turn it around at Chelsea, but maybe... You're muted. Staff, you're muted. Oh,
sorry.
Muted.
I said you want all our players to leave. You want Mado to leave. You want Palmer to leave. You don't want any of our players to stay.
Is Mo right?
No, but I don't want Saka to leave. I don't want Saliba to leave. I don't want...
because now he's in a good environment. I'm sure 3 years ago you probably wanted Saka to leave, though.
Exactly what you're talking about.
When you look
maybe
at
I'm going to be proven wrong, guys.
Right? Look at Rashford. Rashford's stuck around at United. He's had that one sort of unreal season and he had a fantastic breakthrough into the team. But we sort of have this amazing talent that never got to go where it could have gone because he's stuck around at a team that have ultimately struggled and not built well around him. Palmer's at that sort of point now where it's like you need to go to a manager that believes they can get the best out of you and builds their whole team around you, because certainly Maresca hasn't done that. And two, Cole Palmer probably believes his ability is good enough to go and mix it with the very best. And I think Mo's right in suggesting that these players are young enough and talented enough that they should not... it's a failure that they're not playing at the highest level. Like they've got 100%. To be playing there. And that's actually what Arsenal have done so well, is they've got some very, very young, talented players, but they've given them the right platform to go on and succeed and further their development. And City have done that, and recent years, Chelsea and Manchester United and maybe like Spurs haven't been able to do that with their younger players.
100%. Eddie here saying, mate, do your research, Barca. Don't chant shit. You don't understand. The myth on Barca's financial situation is so exaggerated. Barca sold a fraction, 5%.
Oh, didn't they sell their seats in a stadium that haven't even gone yet?
Yeah, they've sold VIP. Well, they tried to sell VIP seats to a stadium that does. They've also sold their TV rights deal for the next like fucking 20 years. So yeah. That was great.
Eddie, you're so triggered because we speak about Barcelona, yet all the reports and all the media is saying that the finances of Barcelona are not in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally like courts are having to discuss with Barcelona due to legality around their finances not being okay.
Yeah,
like it's people just, oh, well, you don't know about the finances. Yeah, we don't know, but we're reading reports.
How many times has Dani Olmo been registered and unregistered?
They had to bring in 3 different auditors just to find one that would agree to let them register Dani Olmo for the season.
Exactly that. So see, Eddie, it's the report.
Can I just say, by the way, if Palmer leaves, because I see people talking about it in the chat, I will be absolutely devastated that it has come to that. I just won't be able to believe that, to be honest with you. Like,
moving on from Chelsea, but guys, can we get to 200 likes? 500 people in the house. Can we get to 200 likes? Moving on to Arne Slot winning in phase 1 instead of doing phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. Is that a real thing? That people said that Arne Slot has destroyed the phases thing that he won in phase 1 at the club. Is that they discussed this, by the way, yesterday?
Yeah, I like. It's just a weird one because it was Arteta came in and said there's a 5-phase plan.
Yes.
So at Arsenal, it's in phases. That doesn't mean that every single club is in one of 5 phases of a 5-phase plan. So phase 1 of Arteta's plan was getting rid of a load of players that clearly weren't good enough to win a league title. Arne Slot didn't have to get rid of a load of players that weren't good enough to win a league title. Phase 2 for Arteta was then bringing in players that could get Arsenal back into the top 4. Arne Slot already had a squad of players that was capable of getting into the top 4. So, yeah, applying this whole phase thing to a club that didn't need 5 phases to get back to the top is probably just not the right way.
He's a new manager. He didn't have a DM. He has no strikers or left wingers to play. His left back is declining, and he won the league. Did he win the league because the oppositions are bad?
No. He won the league by accumulating, what are they on now? 82 points or something? With 4 games to spare, 2 defeats, 26 games unbeaten within the season. He hasn't been given the title by other teams not performing. He's won the title by getting a lot out of that team. I don't agree with the fact that he had no striker when he literally had Jota, Nunez, and arguably Cody Gakpo. But no, he's done an exceptional job.
I think that Salah as well has done an amazing job for Liverpool this season. I know that I argue with a lot of Liverpool fans about has Salah carried Liverpool. I think that Salah is the number 1 reason why Liverpool won the title. Maybe Van Dijk is number 2, Gravenberch number 3, but without Salah, I don't think Liverpool would have won the title. With Van Dijk, if you get someone else, they might have won the title because Salah would still have contributed that much. Van Dijk is a massive deal for Liverpool as well. But what Salah has done this season is ridiculous. He's the best. I said that many times. He's the best player in terms of GA in the history of the Premier League for one club in one season, basically, at the current moment. No one.
What is he currently on, Mo? Do you know?
46.
Wow, that's just crazy.
By the way, the maximum of 38 games, I think it's 42 or something. The maximum was it 42 games before, right? Or 44 games? It was 47. What? So he's 1 away from actually breaking the record of, like, it doesn't matter if it's 44 games or 38 games. That is ridiculous. I know that people are going to talk about, McAllister did this, Van Dijk did that. But Salah basically is the guy that Liverpool relied on, to be honest with you. And it's
Arne Slot had to get that out of him, which is the one part that I think he has to take credit for. Because Jurgen Klopp had started using Salah more as like a just extreme touchline winger. And Arne Slot brought it back to basically, Salah is my best attacking player, so I'm going to make sure that the team gets the best out of him. Obviously, that still relies on Salah being exceptional, but
because Salah could have relied on him, and Salah had like 25 GA and would have said that a good season for him. Like, Salah is delivering in big times, to be honest, and Salah has failed him a lot of time.
I also didn't really realise this, but Slot has done an incredible job of getting numbers out of so many of the Liverpool sort of attacking options and threats. I mean, Gakpo is on 9 in the league. I think Diaz is on 11, 12 now. These are like, if Gakpo gets one more, that means all 3 of probably their best, biggest names in their front line have all got double figures, which is, it's still really, really good. Probably arguably better than what Klopp's got out of Diaz and Gakpo when he had them, maybe. And then I think we saw Szoboszlai and McAllister chip in with like 5 goals each. So these guys have put up numbers. And I think that's what Slot's system has definitely got out of this Liverpool side. I think, and you've seen other players in other positions on the pitch. He's got the best out of them as well. Like you said about Gravenberch. I think we saw really early on with Slot that he just understood that he would do everything. We understood as fans, this guy's going to do everything he can to win, and he's going to try and get the best out of this team, which I know sounds like such a simple task, but I think he showed that and demonstrated it in how he was speaking after games so early on, that it was like, if he can carry on going in this direction, he's going to put together a really, really good season.
Do anybody think that they can dominate?
I don't know for how long, just because there's a number of players that are sort of peaking or twilighting, if you like. So it's just how well do they replace them? But Liverpool fans are suggesting they got a lot of money to spend this summer. So if they do it right, I mean, you look at that midfield rebuild that they did, obviously, with McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Gravenberch. Like, that's ultimately worked out pretty well for them, hasn't it? Because within 2 years, they've won the league with that midfield being pretty key. So it just depends how well they manage to sort of spend the finances they've got available and what sort of quality can they get. But I kind of agree with Rory, by the way. The phase sort of discussion doesn't really apply to this Liverpool side. They're at phase 10 when Klopp probably left. Maybe they were about phase 8 and they just had to get back to 10. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've been going for such a long time at the very highest level that they just dropped off a little bit, you know, at the end of last season and couldn't do enough to sustain that title charge. They just had to do some small tweaks this season. They were back at it. They've got all of the ingredients for a title-winning European level challenging side. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're a great. They
have a lot of superstars. That is what they have as well. They have a lot of superstars. Like, I think this team with Alisson, Trent, Van Dijk. By the way, Trent might be staying, which is different. Trent, Alisson, Van Dijk, McAllister, and also Salah. I think these are difference makers that I don't. For example, I think Arsenal has a good team, but their main difference maker was just injured, which is Bukayo Saka, basically. Just injured for about 3 months, which is that half the season or like 40% of the season. But Liverpool has done amazing. I'm glad that Salah is breaking the record, to be honest. Arsenal are going to come second again. If we're going to say, is it as a failure? Maybe, I don't know. It depends on the Champions League, to be honest.
No, it doesn't, Mo. It doesn't. It doesn't depend. Arsenal finishing second, and what they've done with or without winning the Champions League, I don't think defines if it's a failure or not. I don't think it can be viewed as a failure. No, I don't think you can view it as a failure because of the situation Arsenal found themselves in this season.
Because the injuries you mean and the stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like, I'm not suggesting you're lazy by throwing that term around, but a lot of people have sort of mentioned that. And
I'm here. Argue. Let's debate.
But I just think it's a lazy sort of term to throw around and say it's failure. I just don't think it is. I think if they'd have everyone fit and they hadn't been able to do it, I think then potentially that it's a different conversation. But to lose the players they've had, the only thing I've said a number of times that I will sort of suggest is potentially failure is what they did in the transfer market pre the season beginning.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't actually think they've regressed that from last year. I just don't think they've been able to push on because of the injuries that they had.
You're right in terms of like they stayed second with all the injuries they have. However, I still think that is my personal opinion. I think Liverpool would have won the title even if Arsenal had all their players. There might be a title race.
That's so hypothetical, isn't it?
That's an assumption, yes. That's an assumption.
The injuries are factually true, and the players who got injured are factually some of their most important players. And that is the key here, is that they lost players that are so incredibly important that it meant they weren't able to get to the level to contest against the Liverpool side that are, you know, at this stage, they've won the league and only lost 2 games. It's that level again, isn't it? That the best team in the league will be at an incredibly high standard and you have to be fighting on all fronts and have all available players fit and fighting for 38 games in a season.
I agree with you on this. I agree that, yes, we cannot judge Arsenal until they have all their players, but it's a failure a little bit of preparing for these injuries. I know that I said many times that Salah didn't get injured for Liverpool. That is a lucky thing. Like, Arsenal did have Saka injured, did have Odegaard injured as well. Now they have no striker since January, if I'm not mistaken. But listen, for me, I'm watching the football that Arsenal played, especially before the injuries, and it wasn't great. It wasn't so scintillating like the end of last season. And I was so vocal about this in the beginning of the season that I said that Arsenal should have had a continuation. But maybe I am wrong. And maybe Arteta was doing the same thing as Pep Guardiola and himself in the season before, where they kickstart in the second half of the season. They conserve energy and they do it in the second half of the season. But he wasn't given a chance because of the injuries. So maybe that is the case. But Liverpool actually maintained the same exact way of playing, because Liverpool basically in the first, I think, 18 games and the second 18 games, they kind of had the same number of points or something very, very close to each other. at the current moment. So Liverpool were more consistent than Arsenal this season. Maybe it's down to injuries. Maybe it is down to injuries, but maybe. But let me do this super chat before we go to the Champions League. AMT saying, in my view, Slot is mentally strong and cool at the same time. It's spread towards the team. Yeah, fair enough.
He did start losing his head at one point, though, didn't he?
Yeah, the handshake
game, the handshake. Like there was a point where, and that was the point where I think it was frustrating. Where I feel like if we'd not had the injuries, the big injuries that we got in January that left us basically with no attack, if we'd not had them and we've been just a little bit closer to Liverpool when those cracks did just begin to show, then maybe something could have happened. But no, since then, to be fair, he's handled it well.
Fair. Eddie's asking, how do I enter the pod? I need to school you guys. Eddie, to be honest with you, just to try to text me or something. We'll get you on a call-in show. And then we'll go. We don't talk a lot about Barcelona. We just threw a comment and you literally just, for some whatever reason, you send us a report and I will read it, to be honest, Eddie. But text me on Twitter or Instagram. We'll get you on a call-in show for sure. Don't think Arteta will learn from last season if Arsenal didn't get those injuries this season. Don't you think Arteta will learn from last season if Arsenal didn't get those injuries this season?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what you're
I
asking.
think he would have. I think you would have seen an Arsenal team go on to improve off of the back of the last two seasons. This season, I think they've shown that they arguably have, with as far as they've got in the Champions League. Like they're 2 games away from a Champions League final. You can't deny that this Arsenal team have improved, and ultimately they've not been able to put up the consistency in the Premier League because of the injuries.
If you look at the start of the season, because people look at the injuries we got later in the season and then just ignore the massive Ødegaard injury, which was huge for us at the start of the season. But you look at the start of the season, I think we beat Wolves on the opening day. Then we went away to Villa and won, which was a really good result at the time. Then we drew the third game, which was to Brighton, but we were 1-0 up, and then Declan Rice got sent off for something that we know, well, other than the Trossard one, would never happen again. Then Ødegaard gets injured 3 games into the season. We then go away to City, having lost Ødegaard. We're 2-1 up, and Trossard gets sent off for kicking the ball away, which again we haven't seen since. And even in that period, like we were doing all right. We went away to Atalanta in the Champions League and drew. Then I think we beat Spurs away. Like we started the season not playing incredible football, but grinding out results, trying to figure out what to do without Ødegaard. Ødegaard comes back. Ben White is then immediately injured. Then you get the Saka injury. Like, yeah, it's been a tough one to kind of get any sort of rhythm and momentum going, which was what we did in the second half of last season, which was when our football started looking better. Again, people completely ignore the first half of last season, where everyone was having the exact same conversations about how, Arsenal looked better last season, which was 22-23, and now they don't look. And it took until the second half of the season to really kick into that kind of rhythm. So, and we just never got the chance to even do that this season because of the injuries.
Do you think arguably, that's where Arne Slot hit the ground running with Liverpool, and that arguably gave them the momentum to sort of carry that on? I know that obviously the injuries didn't happen for them, but do you think that's something next season Arteta's got to really focus on, is, hitting the ground running and trying to get Arsenal going pretty early on, and then it's like that unstoppable sort of steam engine that just keeps chugging along?
Yeah. 100%.
Also, do you think you'll see a bigger squad? Do you think he'll learn from this season? Do you think he'll go in with a bigger squad than what he's normally done?
Yes, to an extent. I think it'll be more that the squad that we've got is probably big enough with the kids now. But again, like he didn't trust Waneri to play instead of Ødegaard at the start of Ødegaard's injury, as an example. And freak injuries, like the fact that Marino bloody broke his collarbone in his first training session. Like, you've got to assume that if you make a signing in the summer, they're going to be available to play at the start of the season. And actually, neither him nor Calafiori were. So, yeah, and then you've just got to assume that you're not going to get the same level of rotten injury luck next season that we got this season. But
yeah, if you get the same injuries next season, people are just talking like, imagine, I want people to say hypothetical that happened this season, right? With Mikel Merino. I just want you people to think about Arsenal went on, spent 60, 70 million in Eucharist, giving him that much wages, right? And then Saka's fit. And then beginning of the season, Eucharist is out for 3 months. Merino did it 2 months. He's out. It was the signing. then Saka gets injured as well. You can't prepare for major injuries like this. It just, like Man City did not prepare for Rodri being injured and out for the whole season. And that's what people need to put context, which is what Nicholas here is saying, that what happened to Liverpool when they had injuries last season after being topped? Where did they finish? Context is big thing, big approach for speaking fact. Liverpool didn't win the league last season. Some Liverpool fans saying that they bottled it, but the injuries, and I'm just going to say this, the injuries to Arsenal this season is absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. Being in a Champions League semi-final with these injuries and staying second in the league, it shows you that Arteta has tried to find a solution, but you can do so much. Like, you can do so much at the end.
But this is the point. There's a Spurs fan in the chat saying, what about Spurs? You don't use context of Spurs. No, the context of Spurs is that, yes, you've had injuries, but for a club like Spurs, that's supposedly a Big Six team, you should still not be 16th with those injuries, which is why Arsenal in second with those injuries is not all that bad. If Arsenal were in 16th and we were saying, oh, yeah, but Saka got injured, you'd be going, well, that's not an excuse.
If Arsenal was 7th, not 16th, 7th,
well, yeah,
if Saka get injured, you'll be questions asked.
Exactly.
I think the biggest thing for me around injuries, and this applies to all clubs as well, is we see a number of clubs sort of prepare for their season ahead within having proof there that players do have an injury record, right? And they kind of forget that it's ever happened. They prepare for the season ahead. He's not injured, so he probably won't get injured, even though there'll be players that have shown repeat history of having the same injury over and over again. I think that's the biggest failure for me, is if a player is consistently getting injured and you continue to plan ahead with that player as if they won't get an injury. Fofana, I think of Van der Ven at Spurs.
Reece James.
You have to have like reliable replacements in. I think what we've seen this season is players for Arsenal get injured, who I don't think we've seen too much of an injury history with before. I don't think we've seen Saka get injured. Probably the reason he actually got injured is because he's been available so much. I think Odegaard is another player who has been in the side most of the time since he signed. I think we saw that. I think Arsenal, for me, not replacing someone like Jesus, who's got this horrific injury record now, that's probably a mistake that they didn't have someone else lined up, or they let Eddie go when they knew that Jesus probably could get another injury this season because history suggests that he might pick one up. That, for me, no matter what club it is the biggest failure, I think, around planning your squad out and just not acknowledging injury history, because how many of us have seen teams fail or let their seasons go because another player's repeatedly got the same injury?
The thing is, this is where people in the chat want to hear something. They're saying, oh, all Arsenal talks about is excuses. I kept quiet, and it was Dan that started talking about injuries. I said at the start of the stream, congratulations to Liverpool. They deserved it. Like, if you just want us to sit here and just pretend that injuries aren't a thing in football, and we'll pretend that... What other things do you want us to pretend aren't a thing in football? Should we just literally not talk about football and just talk about the results and nothing else? And therefore, it's either good or bad. Liverpool good, everyone else bad. We are cavemen. We are too thick to engage in any sort of rational conversation. Like, it's actually insanity. It is insanity.
Also, it's not like we're driving it up. Hang on 2 seconds. It's not like we're driving it up for players that aren't important to a side. It's not like the third choice strikers got injured at Arsenal and it's ruined their whole season. We're talking about players that start and score and have GA of like 20 in a season that is so incredibly important to these teams. We're not just like playing on players who are barely getting 5 games. Like, Chiesa. If Chiesa had been injured all season, Liverpool didn't win the league, Liverpool wouldn't be able to turn around and be like, oh no, but Chiesa had so many injuries this season, that's why we didn't win the league. That's not what's happening here. We're talking about very, very important players picking up injuries for a team who are needing them fit all the time.
The only player that was even coming close to competing with Salah this season in terms of output was Saka. Saka was ahead of Salah for chance creation. Are you telling me that if at the same point where Saka got his injury, it was the other way around? Salah got injured for 3 months, Saka didn't, and Arsenal made a comeback. You're telling me, given the season Salah was having, that no one would turn around and say, Salah got injured and that was a big factor? Of course they would. And it would be a perfectly acceptable thing to say. It's just like...
And I think we were, Rory, as well. We did do this for other teams as well. Because, when Manchester City lost Rodri, and obviously we all knew how important that was, but we almost then viewed Manchester City as still not doing enough. Even with just Rodri missing, they were still losing games that they shouldn't have lost with or without him, right? And we all got on top of City and said, like, this isn't good enough. Even if Rodri's not fit, Pep's not doing enough here. This is an awful run. So I think we've been fair this season when teams have had injuries that ultimately, like you said, and just still not done a good enough job, whether his players have been fit or not.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to take this conversation to a different, because we need to speak about the Champions League, because we're not going to meet Rory until like later. AMT here is saying, when rival fans say Arsenal players are not good enough to win due to the lack of world class, then banter them for not winning. It's so double standards. Probably you're right. You're not good enough. And then when they don't win, you say you should have won. But they're not good enough to win for you. So how are you asking them to win? Arsenal started out the same as 23-24, i.e. they struggled for goals versus mid blocks. It's the
attacking players and
the
style of
attacking players and style of play that invites disappointment.
What
That's
if Spurs attacking like that?
I don't know, but it's misspelled. It's fine. No,
it was on purpose. Anyways.
But well, listen, we'll see if Arsenal get a striker. By the way, Arsenal created chances. Now they don't create chances because Odegaard is being used different and Saka has been injured. But I think we'll see OGN what happens next season for them if they get a striker and they get a left winger and the load of goals and chance creation is split over the front three. Because this season, it hasn't been good enough, to be honest with you. About the Champions League, there's a lot of talk about the Arsenal mentality. Me and Staffy went straight back this morning about the mentality.
So
of the
jarring,
manager.
bro. I'm tired of it. Well, I'm so tired of it. Everyday mentality talk. The team is in a semi-final. Mentality talk. Yes, okay, they finished second 3 times. It still takes some type of mentality to even compete. Everyday mentality. The mentality you only prove the mentality if you win. And the question they asked, by the way, Mo, was amazing. Do you want to go ahead and sorry, I know you were introing the convo. Can you go ahead and actually mention the details for today's conversation? Because I couldn't believe what I was listening to.
There's one situation, a penalty, or a loss 1-0 because of a mistake of a goalkeeper or a defender, change your view of the mentality of a football club when they went all the way to a final of a Champions League when no one gave them a chance. Logically, that shouldn't change the way you look at how the club is at and where the manager is and how he's thinking and how he's preparing his players. Because the word mentality is that how a manager approaches games. Does he approach games to win? Does he know how to prepare his team to win games? That was my question. And I was asked this question by Terry first, and then I switched it to, there's one situation. Arsenal already in a Champions League semi-final when no one saw it.
Dan Pot saying, like, if you lose over one penalty, does that mean that they didn't have the mentality to win it? And he was like, yeah, because we didn't lift the trophy. It's just, to me, that's insane. That is the quite definition of talking about something
Dan has his own views about this. And he said that I wouldn't trust the team unless they win the trophy, which is the Champions League. And I said, it doesn't work like this. Like, I changed my view on Inter when Inter reached the final and was neck to neck to the best team in the world at the current moment, full of superstars and world class, with a manager that won a treble before twice, right? The manager that won a treble twice before. I changed my view of the mentality of my team because I saw my team not scared of Man City. Neck to neck, we were closer to the win. They had a world-class player to come up clutch. I changed my view on my team that day. The Istanbul day when we lost them, even though we didn't win the trophy, by the way, and we didn't win anything that season apart from like a Super Cup or something. I changed the way I look at Inzaghi and the team and how they approach games. And that is fair I thought that was fair for me. I think regardless of the result against PSG or the final of the Champions League for Arsenal, you're looking at this team coming up against the Real Madrid team, closing the roof, whatever things and the PR they did, smashing them 5-1, going to the Bernabeu and win. That makes you change the way you look at this manager and the team. That's only fair enough to say this. And just, if people don't see this, it's up to you.
Getting over the line doesn't usually mean that you had the mentality. To get there to begin with, I think it takes a lot of mentality to go there. To go from the as we used to call them, banter era Arsenal from 2 years ago to consistently competing.
To us saying that you must win the Champions League or I'm going to change the way I look at you. It's like, it's crazy.
Exactly, because there's people demanding it. And this is what I don't like about football, bro. Everyone who says I'm only going to back a certain team, a certain player, or a certain manager only when they get across the line, it's the most superficial thing ever, bro. It's like you go into your girl and you say, unless you look like a 10 out of 10 model, I'm not going to marry you. No, that's not where you glow up as you go together. You know what I'm saying? That shit happens in football. Your team glows up. You believe enough in it. You're like, you know what? I believe in this glow up. I feel like eventually we're going to win something. We've gotten far enough. You've shown me enough evidence. I'm going to back it. Go ahead. I'm not saying be happy that you lost. Of course, if they lose, let's say they reach the final, they lose because Arteta got outclassed or whatever. Sure, bro, raise questions. But it doesn't mean that you needed to cross the line for me to believe there was something.
That doesn't mean he's a loser at that time. Like, it doesn't mean he's a loser.
Football doesn't work like that, bro. When Fergie came in as an example, and it took him years to win, he gave the club something to believe in. He's like, listen, I can replicate what I did in Scotland that I did over here. They didn't believe in the first year, the second year, the third year, the fourth year, the fifth year, but eventually they saw it and they believed in it. And they're like, you know what? This is the shit he's been telling us about. Everyone has to to be a believer at first before you see something. You know what I'm saying? That's just how life is all the time. For you to actually get there, you have to believe in it first or not. And if you don't believe, that's fine. I can't tell you not to believe in it. But this whole notion that they don't have a mentality if they don't pick up the trophy, they haven't been in a final since 2006. You're telling me Henry, because he didn't win, he didn't have the mentality? Sol Campbell didn't have the mentality? Arsene Wenger didn't have the mentality? What are we doing here?
Yeah. This is always the thing. It's like, okay, they don't have the mentality because they've never won it. And then the second we win it, that means every single player in that squad then has the mentality.
You magically go,
yeah, yeah.
Mentality in your head.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, again, this is where just people's lines of thoughts like just contradict and fall apart, because people will say, like, before the Real Madrid game, right? If you dared to suggest that more than half of a combined 11 would be Arsenal players with Real Madrid, you'd get bantered off social media. Oh my God, delusional. Oh, these Arsenal fans, so delusional. Okay, so then we beat them. Well, then that must be based on coaching and mentality, because it's not based on ability, because the ability of the players compared to Real Madrid's rubbish. So the only way we could possibly beat them would be the coach and the mentality. But then if we lose the next game, oh, that must be because of the coach and the mentality. Even though everyone's saying, oh, you're going to lose to PSG because PSG are way better now. It's like you can't. It's just bizarre. A lot of the lines of thought just don't really work.
Lars, because I know you have to go. How would you approach the game against PSG with Thomas Partey being out?
Yeah, with Thomas Partey being out.
Okay, before we do that, Rory is going to release a video on his channel, Rory Talks Football, actually previewing the game and actually going in depth on how Arsenal will actually approach the game, how he thinks Arsenal should approach the game. So go and support Rory, of course. Rory Talks Football in the description, guys. So go.
Yeah, it's the midfield. I think the midfield's the crucial battle. I think Villa showed in the game at Villa Park that if you really go physically in the midfield and you pack it out, you can overwhelm those midfielders. The three midfielders, Vitinha, João Neves, and Fabian Ruiz, assuming that it will be those three, incredibly good technically. They are incredibly good at pressing, but if you can evade the press and you can go toe-to-toe with them physically, I think that's where you beat them. And I saw John McGinn doing it as a left 8. A couple of examples from that game. That's where I'd love Declan Rice to be our left 8, but he's going to have to play the 6, I think, without Thomas Partey, and that's where I'm a bit concerned. I'm also a bit concerned playing Trossard up top. So I really think the really brave way of beating PSG would be to play Miles Lewis-Skelly as the 6. But
what?
Yeah, you'll have to watch the video to find out why.
Do you think?
All right.
Shameless plug there.
Timber left back, Ben White right back would be what I would do, because then you keep Marino up top.
Is Ben White
it
ready?
All works in theory. Yeah, Ben White trained today. So yeah, that would be what I would do. But look, ultimately, I think you just got to get away from the Emirates. The big thing is we can't lose. We can't lose tomorrow night. We can't go to France chasing a win. A draw wouldn't be ideal, but it would be manageable. And obviously, in an ideal world, you win. But yeah, they've just got to have confidence. The one thing people, again, back to the mentality thing, people talk about Arsenal's players. They've not done it before. They don't have the mentality. This PSG team is fairly young and fairly inexperienced themselves. There are a lot of them that either haven't won anything major, or when they have, they've not really been like a core part of that winning team. So I think it's yeah, both teams are going into it kind of similarly in that sense. So yeah, it'll be an exciting game.
AMT here saying, put it in another way, does Arsenal in general have better players than Liverpool and Man City? Thoughts? No.
They have some players better than them.
Some, not all. Like, I think the partnership with the defense is there. I think the fullbacks are, if Trent leaves, are there. I think Declan Rice is very good.
We have few, like you said, the main difference is the number of elite game-changing players, and Arsenal have the fewest of those three.
But I think Van Dijk by himself is better than both centre-backs at Arsenal. Miles Busquets has been better than Robertson this season. I think maybe Declan Rice will get ahead of Szoboszlai.
Timber is the best fullback in all teams, honestly.
Yeah, I actually think City have probably got the worst defence there, but they probably outdo it in terms of what they've got going forwards with, like Rory said, game changers. But next season could be a different story, by the way. I think Arsenal could quite easily sort of be second on that list because I feel like a lot of those players are going to leave City this summer.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne not being there is massive. And also Phil Foden being out of favour is massive. I know you have to go, Rory.
Yeah,
I have to go for the meeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
Cheers.
Enjoy it, Rory.
Yeah. Couple of things just to do before we end the show.
Mo, are you going to win? You're not in the best form. Are you going to win? Tough game.
You want honest? I'm going to tell you the honest. Let me do the super chats. This stream is ear cleansing. The National League is bigger. Thank you so much, my man, for this.
Since I joined, I'd like to claim that.
These comments gives me hope of people listening to something different. Even though my channel, we have a lot of banter going, but we have streams like this where we just speak rationally, but people don't like it. Let's shit on Arsenal and Man United, and we're.
You're saying we're carrying Footy Judge Mo, the YouTube channel.
You are carrying Footy Judge Mo this show.
It's quality to hear that though. Like really appreciate.
I'm shameless. It's okay. I like the event this sometimes.
My man, like it's so good to hear these comments. To be honest with you, thank you so much. Potts is one of the densest Arsenal fans. Listen, big up to Potts. He has his opinions. I'm not gonna say anything. I disagree with him. I know Potts is a top guy. To be honest, he's absolutely a fantastic guy. His opinion on football is just different than me. So. Listen, everyone has different. Don, Chaz, Matisse, Nina, all have different opinions than each other and then Dan. I'm not going to call this guy this or this guy that. We're all like, Nina thinks this is different than Don, than Chaz, than Matisse, than Winter Surfer, than Dan. It's not like this guy is denser than this or whatever. Like, this is just Diallo. Can't say this, bro. Staffy has different opinion than Terry, than Saeed.
And my opinions are right. But can you put that comment from Barani, Bharani? He's asking something about Bissouma. Can you just put that comment?
Staffy, what's the secret to go from Bissouma better than Rice to this? I can't believe it.
I love comments like this.
Did you do?
I love comments like this, and I'll tell you why. Then this was a long time ago. Basically, when Rice first went to Arsenal, and that was like when Spurs went on that insane run, and I was like, Bissouma is clearly better than him. But here's the thing. People ask me things like this all the time. These are the same people who always say, oh, this guy always thinks he is right. He thinks he knows everything. But then when you go on an opinion and you change it with new evidence, they're like, oh, what made you turn? What made you do this?
Flip-flop.
I'm a flip-flop now. I'm going to tell you what, Barani. You're asking me for the secret. Those two right here. I watched football for 2 years using these, my eyes. And my eyes show me how dog shit Bissouma has been. Oh, by the way, brilliant raw attributes. Brilliant on the ball. The guy that is not interested in playing serious football. And another guy scoring bangers against Real Madrid. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
Like, I'm going to tell you something about this Rice-Bissouma thing. I had the same opinion as Staff. Watching Declan Rice at West Ham, watching Bissouma and the attributes he possesses, his first touch, the way he drives, he looks very good. But there is something that we were presented that we didn't know about Bissouma. It's called mentality and how you approach and how professional you are in football. That makes or break a player, to be honest with you. That you can be the best talented player there, but your mentality, the way you train, we have seen coaches talk about how players train, for example, and they tell you this guy in training is not good. And I'm going to tell you something, to be honest. Eden Hazard was a phenomenal player. You watch, now he's retired, the truth is coming out. Every Chelsea player that played with him said the guy didn't take training serious, used to turn up in games, and they used to say this amazing. It was amazing. But if I look at Salah, who has less attributes than Hazard, at the age of 33, breaking records, with Hazard at Real Madrid, because he's not training well, his career ended earlier than Salah, right? This is called focus, professionalism, mentality. Bissouma might have the better attributes than Rice, but Rice molded his attributes, polished them, and look at Rice now, semi-final of the Champions League, is being talked about the team of the season in a Champions League, while Bissouma is not going to get a minute in a top club again. That's it for him. That is a definition of a mentality. So Declan Rice's mentality is better than Bissouma. Simple.
Imagine I came out today and I said, no, Bissouma's still better. It'd be the most diluted take.
People will call you stupid. People will call you stupid.
Was he at West Ham when you made that take?
No, it was the first year he moved to Arsenal.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah,
like
they
before
moved
they kicked the ball in the summer. Yeah, before the ball was kicked.
Right.
No. I said it in the first few weeks when Spurs were first place.
They started really well.
Bissouma's was balling out, to be honest. It was like, what, 8 weeks in, they were sitting top of the Premier League. And I actually presented an argument then where I just showed all the underlying stats for a DM or a midfielder. And I was showing that he was winning more tackles in his half. He was making more progressive carries and passes into the final third. I was just showing, and he really was. But as Mo said, I think the biggest thing was mentality. If a player who's, I think, is lesser quality than you is able to improve a little bit, go actually from a West Ham team that's defensive to an attacking team like Arsenal, improve his game, become one of the best set piece takers, by the way, in the league. He's having an output. He's doing all that while I think he's more limited than you. Meanwhile, you're blowing balloons and shit in the summer. How can I still sit here and say, yeah, he's better than him? You have the attributes, you just did nothing with it. So hard work won, talent on its own didn't work. So that's it.
I think, like, I completely hear what you're saying, by the way, but I think not to discredit Declan Rice technically, like I feel like that's what you're doing a little bit there, because Declan Rice technically is so highly regarded by so many players.
I think
he's played with.
Still
Honestly, I would say that it wasn't
then.
ever that far apart, though. I don't think it was ever that far apart. Maybe
I never said he's clear. I just said he was
applying himself to the role, but I think technically Declan Rice has always been regarded as a top like respected pro in that
I don't think so. When I first watched Declan Rice, for example, the way he strikes a ball, the way he whips a ball, the long range passes now, which translates into corners and set piece taking, right? You can tell that the player has developed massively.
He didn't have that.
I think he has.
He didn't have that.
A lot of people speak about, like, when they talk about Declan Rice, the guys that play with him in the England team and things like that, they say about his technique being like one of the best things he had. I just don't think he ever got to display it as much at West Ham, because
maybe that's why we didn't see it. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's why it wasn't important to see him
translate
translate it into attacking team, because you go from sitting in a pivot with Souček and defending, they finished 17th that season in the league, to go into a team that's always on the front end, playing now more in an advanced role, because he was the 8 at Arsenal. He's not the 6. So I'm like, it's a complete transition in positions. I was like, going from this to that is going to show me a lot about him. And fair enough, he's done very well. You
guys on the show represent football spectacularly. Big up. Thank you, AMT, for the good comments. Appreciate you guys. Dan asked me a question about Inter, bro.
I thought you dodged it.
Are you going to win? Yeah.
No, I'm not. I remember that. I just wanted to do the super chat, respect the people that spend their money.
I'm joking.
To get involved in the conversation. We are fatigued, and I believe that Inter, without Marcus Thuram, we lose a lot of our strength without Marcus Thuram. We are not a very physical team up top. And without Marcus Thuram, we lose a lot of this. Lautaro Martinez has played well last season. This season, without Marcus Thuram, he's shown his limitation because he's no speed. He's not strong enough to hold the ball against big defenders. He can't lead the team from the front, while Marcus Thuram gives him that leeway. Like, he's a physical guy who can play through the line. And I think Inzaghi is failing tactically to adapt without a striker like a Marcus Thuram, to be honest with you. And I think because our second team is not good enough, we are struggling. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Have you ever seen a midfielder that play 90 minutes and have completed like 6 passes? We have a midfielder like this that plays in the heart of the midfield. And sometimes He played in the midfield 10 minutes. He completed 1 pass. That is like worse than anything you have seen in your life as a midfield. That is called Fratesi guy. That doesn't want the ball, runs away from the ball, doesn't pass the ball at all. We've had players that fell apart because of fatigue and injuries, but I'm not giving excuses. It's on the manager to actually make this work, and he didn't make it work, basically. And I say that for Inter, 1 league title in 4 years is not good enough when you have the best team in Italy. Basically, it's not good enough, and it's a failure, right? The only thing that will save the season now, it's either he wins the league or he wins the Champions League, to be honest with you.
What
Otherwise,
happens, Mo, if he doesn't? Like, because you're at risk here that say Barcelona take all that momentum for their victory at the weekend, go and beat you and knock you out the Champions League, and somehow Conte and Napoli go on to win the Scudetto. What I mean, Inzaghi's like, I feel like really, really highly respected in football at the moment. I feel like if he fails on both fronts, I mean, his respect
3
levels,
fronts, Dan.
like
3 fronts.
3.
He was in a semi-final against AC Milan. Through the first game, rotating all his players. So he had a chance to play his starters in the second game and win the game. And we didn't score a goal, and we lost to AC Milan in a cup semi-final where he could have gone to win it, because the final is going to be Bologna. So he failed in 3 competitions if he doesn't win the Champions League. People don't understand this. People say Inter don't have. We have the deepest squad in Serie A. With all due respect, nobody knows who. People know the second fiddle team of Inter. People know who Arnautovic is, Korea. People know who Zielinski is, who was playing for Napoli. People know Bisic, who's a second, like he's a second, fourth defender at Inter.
I told you,
Mo,
in my pre-season, I was like, he looks very good, by the way, Bisic.
Like, he fell off a cliff as well.
Yeah.
So people don't understand. I'm not giving excuses to the manager. If you don't win a trophy this season, you fail. And I'm not saying sack him and get another guy. I say sack him and get a better manager. I'm going to hold the same standards for all the clubs. When I say sack Maresca or sack Arteta or whatever I say get a better manager. Don't start over. And don't get a manager that is worse than him, because Inzaghi is one of the best managers out there. I'm saying I want better.
Is there anyone better than him right now?
In Italy, probably Antonio Conte. But Antonio Conte showed failure before.
Who manages Bologna, Mo? Do you know?
At the current moment,
well, aren't they?
It's Vincenzo Italiano.
Right.
At the current moment, who managed Fiorentina and reached the final. You remember he lost to
is it him? Yeah.
The guy plays a very progressive brand of football, like the Zerbi style. You know that these new Italian coaches, they're not defensive at all. They're very offensive coaches. They play on the front foot. They want to have position. I don't like my manager at Inter to be having 1 league title in 4 when you have. There is a difference when you're in a banter era and you win one league in 4 years. But when you have the best team in the country and don't win, it's a failure. How is Napoli with Antonio Conte winning with Politano and Billy Gilmore? They have, to be honest with you, Lobotka is the only guy from this team that will get in Inter. Lobotka.
Yeah, Lobotka's a serious player.
I feel like
he doesn't get the respect like on his name at all across Europe.
Class football player. It's ridiculous. He's class. With all due respect, nobody can name the Napoli goalkeeper. But everyone knows that Inter have Jan Sommer, who won before trophies. Everyone knows who Jan Sommer is.
Who is Napoli's keeper? Is it Meret?
No.
Meret? No, is he not there anymore?
I don't think he starts for Napoli, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember his name now at the current moment, to be honest. It's someone that I'm telling you.
I think it's him. I think it's Meret. I'm sure it is.
Is it?
Yeah. I think
Meret is there, but there is,
No?
It's Meret.
Help me out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Meret. I think there's someone else that was playing our game when we played them or something like this, because
it's right though, isn't it? It's like
you know that
you'd have to watch football to know who is playing for.
Yeah,
Napoli,
do you know that
their
best defender was? That's how brilliant Conte is. Their best defender was injured for about 10 games.
Who was it?
Buongiorno, the guy that plays in the Italian.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, actually, to be honest, to think that Antonio Conte can do a job like this. To be honest, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
But this is his perfect environment to thrive.
Yes.
Is
1 game a week.
No, 1 game a week. Yeah,
He got knocked out of the cup really early, you know, like he's like,
Yeah, he
"Fuck
knows.
this.
He's like, get
I'm
me out
out,
of those
bro.
cup competitions.
I'm out of the cup. I
It's
want to win
true.
the league." And
Staffy, do you
he's
know, I
winning the
always thought Conte would end up at United. I always thought you'd give him a try.
Don't give
would
Mo
like- I
ideas,
would-
bro. He's gonna keep telling us right now to go get.
I would love to see Antonio Conte manage.
I don't
Manchester
want.
United.
I don't want his
If
football. United.
Amorim gets backed in terms of the team and the setup, and it goes wrong and it doesn't work out, but you've bought players for him, I think you have to then go for Antonio Conte to get you out of a huge pile of trouble. That's what I think will have to happen.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
Because in a 3-4-3 system, arguably, he might be the best in the world at getting the best out of a team in that system.
Yeah, but he plays the same system, not with the same profiles. So
no,
he
I
plays
agree.
two
But
up front.
it's such minor. But the thing is, if you buy players for that system, I feel like you get very like system locked into the players. that
Yeah, I know
you've
what you
got.
mean. Like it's
So
very
the
specific.
tweaks-
You don't
Conte
understand what this
tweaks
guy
are
can do with
minimal.
Ugarte,
Yeah.
bro. You
That's
don't
it.
understand what this guy can do with
Oh,
Ugarte.
could you
bro.
imagine?
Take
That'd
him,
be good.
take him, bro.
No,
I
you-
don't want
you
him, bro.
don't-
Tell
you
me what
don't
this guy can do with
understand this
Ugarte. I don't
guy.
want to watch that, bro.
You will see
don't wanna
Bruno
watch that.
Fernandes be amazing.
He
under
can, bro. He
Antonio
can take.
Conte.
Listen, he could take Ugarte in Napoli.
No,
I'd
if he
gladly
goes
give
to
him-
United, bro. If he goes to United, you
No,
don't
I'm
understand.
good. Thank you, bro.
You don't
Please,
understand.
no.
Let me do these two super chats. Mo, I'm sorry, I'm normally not like that. You know, I'm always very civil and respectful to your guests and viewers, but that guy really gets on my nerves. He gets on a lot of people's nerves, but Dan is cool. I love that.
Diallo, don't you have training today?
You know,
They said Ahmed Diallo's back on Monday.
Live score reported that Real Sociedad joking provide confirms Zubamendi will be decided in June. Arsenal will trigger the 51 million release clause. I actually think that Zubamendi is going to go to Arsenal.
I think it would be a good sign.
Yeah, a great signing for them. Zubamendi there. Zubamendi. They still need an attacking midfielder. I don't know who's going to be that guy, but we'll see if they sign a Eucharist. If they sign Eucharist, Zubamendi, and no one else, that's a good window. Wallahi, that's a good window. Like, that's a very good window for
Zubamendi's gone, by the way, because that's their president saying that. So I would think that
Really?
he's gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's done.
Interesting.
But it depends if he goes to Real Madrid or he goes to...
Yeah, what is he going to do
Arsenal.
at Madrid?
Who's going to be Madrid
Uh,
manager, by the way? Do you think it's Alonso? Do you think it's like nailed on?
Alonso.
By the way, I think what
I'm
they're
a big
doing
fan.
with
I
what's
think
his
it's going
name
to be.
right now.
I think it's going to be. It might be Jurgen Klopp.
Oh,
Yeah, they really
Klopp
want
would be
Klopp.
exciting.
Hansi, German manager Hansi Flick versus Jurgen Klopp, German manager.
Yeah,
is
stylistically, it gives them the
this
best
is it.
chance. To
This
It
compete.
would be
is it. This
stylistically
is
better
it.
as well.
This
I
is
would
it.
enjoy that.
I
would
think
enjoy
I
that.
want to see that. I want to see Arne, like Jurgen Klopp.
I think
Real
this
Madrid.
Real Madrid team is better equipped. Like the players that they have, they're probably better equipped for Jurgen Klopp as well. There's a lot of pace and power in that team.
How is he going to coach the likes of Mbappe and Vini Jr. to
It's
work
the mentality
for the
thing,
team?
yeah.
That bro, they don't work for the team. They work for themselves.
Did you see Bellingham? Like the ball went past him and he was like, oh. And then
Yeah.
he turns around and he didn't even run and Pedri just broke away from him and scored. I thought Pedri was so good in that game.
By the way, since we're talking about this, am I the only one who believes that this Real Madrid team needs actually major changing in their spine to become a decent team? Not a decent team, they're a decent team, but to win it. Because I'll tell you what, I don't think their one or two player fixes it. I actually think there's about two names, big names, that need to be removed from this team because they have excess players on that pitch that I kind of don't think they complement each other. I think they need a big signing in the midfield and they need a big signing up front. But for you to get that, you probably need to get rid of at least two big names.
I think they need to get rid of Vinny Jr. I think
Yeah,
he is
that's
the
one of them.
worst thing for them right now. I think he's got this sky-high ego, and I just don't actually think he has the ability to match that. Like I
I
really
think Vinny
don't
needs
see
to
it.
go.
Finally, people are seeing my vision about Vini Jr.
Vinny high, bro. Vinny high. I think
Yeah.
Vinny needs to go. Mbappe needs to play on the left. They need to sign Mbappe a real striker to play with, a striker to build a relationship with, because your purpose is to get the best out of your best player, and your best player is Mbappe right now, not Vinny. So they need to sign a striker for him. I think Rodrigo needs to go because it's not his best position. Just go sign a natural right winger. And I think the midfield, bro. The midfield misses Toni Kroos so much. They cannot play. I don't care how many
They
times
don't
you're
have
gonna-
a conductor. They don't have a conductor
Exactly.
at all.
And this is why I don't care about
This is why
Ceballos,
the Zubamendi.
Tchouameni,
This is why the Zubamendi thing
Jude,
makes sense.
Modric, Camavinga. I don't care about all these guys. All these combinations you make in the midfield, I'm not impressed with them. I'm not gonna lie, they need Enzo Fernandez. If you could sell Vinny
Oh,
Go get
take it.
Enzo.
Go on. You can have him. Put up the money. I
Put
don't care
Enzo,
what it is.
wallahi, put Enzo in that midfield and you'll see. And go sign him a striker.
Zubamendi.
I would honestly, if I was Real Madrid, I'd rather we
Zubamendi
sign
hype, bro, no.
Adam Wharton than Enzo Fernandez if I was a Real Madrid fan. Because I actually think,
because
by the
Kroos
way,
wasn't a
Staffy,
6, bro.
I might have found your answer. I actually think that Adam Wharton may be the player you need to come into your United team to play alongside.
Oh yeah, United, yeah, but bro, I'm not spending over 100 million for him.
You reckon that's what it cost?
100 million.
They'll ask for 100 million for
So
him.
much. But I actually think he'd be a great step in the right direction for United.
I'd love him at
Really?
United. I think I said that last year, and people told me that midfield was too small between him and Mainu. And that's one of the things.
Madrid need to go for Barella. That's what they need to do.
No, Barella doesn't suit them. They need a conductor, which is like a
Enzo, man.
Zubamendi. No. They need someone that will high volume
Because
passer.
Zubamendi, they don't need Zubamendi. Stop saying that. They need Enzo. They need a little bit of creativity in that midfield. They need someone with volume passing.
Yeah, I
who'll be
hear
good
you.
for it. They can get away with it, their 6 being Camavinga and Tchouameni if they have an Enzo playing next to them. And
I
then you
think
can
they need a
have
bit-
Jude
they need
just
a manager
box
to
the
be
box,
honest.
playing higher up the pitch. It would
I
work.
think Jude Bellingham running on the pitch, you look like, Broski, what are you doing, bro? This is Real
Every time he
Madrid.
plays Pedri, by the way, Pedri outclasses him. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You look at Pedri versus Jude Bellingham, and you can just tell like that's a talented football player, and that's a hard-working football player on the pitch. You know that
One plays
Pedri
harder,
is-
one plays smarter, and you can tell that Pedri's the
Pedri.
smarter one.
Bro,
But
if
that's
there's
the-
only one player I'm
Always been
afraid
the
of
difference between a
Barcelona, bro.
Spanish player and an
Pedri,
English
yeah.
player. Like you always associate physicality and hard work and running with an English player, and you just always see like a Spanish player who's just maybe physically he's not built like that. He's just like he's slower on the pitch, but like 1-2 touches, yeah, goodbye. I've already cooked you. That was Pedri all game, bro.
His
Absolutely
numbers off
really
the
good.
ball, by the way, are like unbelievable. Pedri's numbers off the ball and like winning back the ball and defensive
Yes.
work is incredible. He's like,
His
I think we said the other
dispossession
day,
numbers, as you said, is ridiculous.
it's like the perfect blend of Busquets, Iniesta, and Xavi all in
I was
one
about to
player.
say that. I swear to
Yeah.
God, you took that from
It's
me.
like the perfect blend.
He looks like Iniesta and Xavi had a baby.
Yeah. And
'Cause
then,
he
and then,
possesses
and
a
then he
little bit of
learned
both.
how to play like Busquets because he understands the game being off the ball like incredibly well. He's brilliant. I think he's so good. I don't think he might be starting to get it now. Like if they go on to win the Champions League, I think people will really sort of start to give him his flowers.
We'll be here when we school on.
You know who fits their
Wednesday.
midfield, Mo? And I thought of you when I was watching the game. I just imagine Mainu in that midfield, that Barcelona midfield.
Meno, De Jong, Pedri,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
be good.
Amazing,
It'd
amazing.
be fantastic.
Well,
I want
I'm
him
not
to
gonna lie.
go-
As much as I love Mainu, but I actually would be happy for him if he went there because I know he'd win a lot with that team.
You're thinking like me now, like you're looking for the best for the.
Because
player.
you know what it is, bro. Like
Yeah.
I actually love seeing Manchester United talent leave the club and actually do well. Because like I feel like they're my sons. Like these guys came from my academy. Yes, we're shit, but like I can brag about them. Be like, look, like McTominay is about to get a mural next to Maradona, and there's nothing Mo can do about it. You know.
McTominay and Maradona in the same sentence is painful to hear.
Could you imagine?
The mural of Maradona and the mural of McTominay in Napoli would be fucking nuts.
Mo, think about it like this. McTominay, we sold it to Napoli. He's about to get a mural next to Maradona when he wins the league. And then we use that McTominay money to fund Ugarte. And people wonder why I'm depressed and I'm angry all the time. This is why. This is why. Look at the misuse of funds.
We'll see.
And now
Listen,
the whole revisionism, by the way, going on in the fan base. And they're like, but didn't you guys say McTominay shit? I never said sell McTominay and get me a shin kicker. I said sell McTominay and get me a ball controller in the midfield. Well, I still have a video on my channel. That's when Fabrizio Romano came out and said that United negotiations with Ugarte fell off and the whole fan base was in a meltdown. I came out and said Ugarte deal going down is great news. Wallah, I still have that video. And now look at us. Everyone's calling them dog shit while they abused me
I
when I
sat
said
there last summer and I told everyone Chelsea and United will regret selling Gallagher and McTominay because they're players that are incredibly useful throughout a Premier League season. And I got so much stick for that. So much stick. Those players, they're needed. They don't have to start every game, but they're just incredibly useful to have in the team.
Mo, look at this.
I need to, bro.
Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it blurry?
Good news, Manuel Ugarte deal is off.
Oh, my God.
I told them good news. No one believed me, bro. They laughed at me.
Here we are. Listen, people, Staffy TV in the description, Tom Little, Dan's channel in the description, Jamie's story, who couldn't join us. We need to text him to see he was coming back from Madrid from running a marathon. But go and check Ossam's channel. This is going to take you to Don Hossam, where they're going to be celebrating Liverpool win. Of course, to the Premier League. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Staffy. Thanks to Rory. And for everyone that joined us, hit that like button, guys, before you leave. Thank you for everyone that supported the channel, the super chatters. You guys are absolutely brilliant, always supporting the channel. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We're out.